No one looks twice at a woman wearing a reflective vest and a faded contractor badge, seated behind a folding table at the rear entrance of a federal building. No one asks why her posture is too straight, why her eyes never stop scanning, why, even in silence, she seems to be listening for something no one else can hear. To everyone passing by, she's just another contractor, a name on a clipboard, a shift that can be replaced. Until the night the system goes dark. A storm tears across the Midwest faster than forecasted. Power lines fail, radios crackle into static. And on a rural bridge, rising water traps a school bus with children still inside. Inside the Emergency Coordination Center, voices overlap, decisions stall. And someone hesitates before saying a name that hasn't been spoken in years. A call sign officially marked inactive. "Ghostlight! Is that you?" The woman looks up for the first time that night. She doesn't smile. She doesn't introduce herself. She doesn't ask permission. She says only this: "Tell me how many are trapped, and how many minutes we have before the margin disappears." Because when everything goes dark, someone always remembers who knows how to turn the light back on. Her name is Mara Holloway. She didn't grow up surrounded by flags or heroic speeches. She grew up in a small town where patriotism wasn't loud, it was practiced. Her mother worked double shifts as a nurse. Her father left early, leaving behind a quiet house and a sentence Mara never forgot: "Be strong. No one is coming to save you." Mara learned early that strength doesn't announce itself. At school, she wasn't popular. She wasn't difficult. She was reliable, the one teachers trusted, the one classmates followed without knowing why. When she turned 18, she didn't ask the army recruiter about glory or travel. She asked one question: "Does effort matter here?" The recruiter looked at her for a long moment. "It does when other people depend on you." That was enough. Before she was Ghostlight, before she was even a soldier, Mara stood in a plain room with her right hand raised. No music, no ceremony. Just words millions had spoken, and few truly understood until tested. "I swear to support and defend the Constitution of the United States." Mara didn't think about enemies abroad. She thought about her mother coming home exhausted, about rural roads no one fixed, about people who never made the news. When the oath ended, she didn't feel pride. She felt weight, and weight, over time, becomes character. During basic training, Mara learned something that stayed with her forever. The army doesn't teach you not to feel fear. It teaches you to function despite it. While others chased recognition, Mara studied logistics. While others competed for attention, she memorized routes, timing, and mistakes. A senior sergeant watched her quietly for weeks. After a brutal night exercise, he approached her. "Holloway," he said, "do you know why the good ones survive?" Mara shook her head. "Because they don't think the world owes them anything." In uniform, Mara didn't fight hostility. She fought doubt. "Can you carry that? You sure you're ready for this mission?" "Want someone else to handle it. No malice, just constant testing." Mara didn't argue. She answered with results. During a night exercise with zero visibility, her unit became disoriented. Maps failed. Landmarks vanished. Mara asked permission to move 30 meters alone. The lieutenant hesitated. 5 minutos, she returned, with her clue. With an exit, with calm. No one questioned her capability after that. That night, over the radio, an instructor muttered, "It's like following a ghost light." The name stayed. In radio traffic, Mara stopped being Mara. She became Ghostlight. She wasn't the strongest. She wasn't the loudest. She was the calmest when everything fell apart. Search and rescue, flood zones, night evacuations. The missions that don't make posters. Ghostlight didn't chase glory. She brought people home. The mission that broke her didn't start as a tragedy. It started like many others. Incomplete data. Chimney pressure orders stamped confirmed. A storm system had isolated a rural area. Civilians were trapped, proved a Safi Cogidor. Mara studied the data. Something didn't match. The wind is going to shift, she warned. The window is closing. The response was immediate. Follow the plan, ghost light. The team deployed. At first, everything held. Then the storm turned. Visibility collapsed. Communications fractured. The ground disappeared. Mara evacuated to civilians. Guided her crew to an improvised landing zone, but wanted to make it back. His name was Evan Miller, 23 years old. From Iowa, the night before the mission, Evan asked quietly, "Do you think we all make it back?" Mara answered with controlled honesty, "I think we do everything possible." That was their last conversation. Mara watched helplessly as Evan was taken by freezing water, meters away, unreachable. The report was flawless. Extreme conditions, operational loss. Procedures followed. What the report didn't say, she had known. And she wasn't heard. There was no court-martial, no punishment. Something worse. Distance. Mara was pulled from critical operations, then from night missions, then from conversations. When retirement came, it was clean and quiet. A handshake, a phrase. "Thank you for your service," Mara replied. "At your service." But something inside her went silent. Civilian life had no structure, no chain of command, no clear purpose. Interviews felt absurd. How do you handle stress? Can you work under pressure? Mara smiled politely. She took contract work, access control, logistics. From the outside, nothing special. From the inside, she still watched. Still anticipated. Still protected. But now, official won't depend on that her. If asked about her past, she'd say, "A while ago." As if the past could be boxed away. Thursday evening. The storm arrived quietly. At 6:17 p.m., her phone buzzed. A voicemail from her younger sister, Rachel. Rachel drove a school bus, one of the invisible people who keep the country running. "Hey, I don't want to scare you. I saw something strange on the route. Call me when you can." Mara heard it immediately. Controlled. Too calm. At 8:40 p.m., a text arrived. No signal. What a reason. 'Cause we know then nothing. Things flickered. That familiar feeling returned. The system was about to be late. Mara wasn't on the response team. She had no rank. But she had something stronger. Responsibility. She called an old number. "I can't talk," the coordinator said. "If you follow standard protocol," Mara replied, "children will die on that bridge before midnight." Silence. "How do you know?" "Because water doesn't negotiate." "What do you suggest?" "I need an open line. And trust." 10 seconds passed. "You're on." The radio line opened. Someone hesitated before asking, "Ghost light, is that you?" Mara closed her eyes for a brief second, then answered yes. Years earlier, Mara had learned to recognize this moment, the moment before chaos. That night, before the storm fully arrived, she had woken at 3:12 a meter, a dream of a radio, on, no one answering. She stood by the window, listening to the wind already pressing against the building. She knew this feeling. It was the space between waiting and acting. And she knew something else. If she stepped forward now, there would be no turning back. The radio line stayed open. That alone was unusual. In emergencies, to many voices usually mean to many mistakes. But that night, one voice didn't compete. It organized. "Confirm numbers," Mara said calmly. "I want facts, not guesses." A dispatcher answered, "School bus." 17 children. 1 adult. Mara swallowed. "Is the adult conscious?" A pause. "Yes." She's keeping them calm. Mara nodded to herself. That buys minutes, not safety. On the screens, the bridge twisted under pressure. Water slammed, its supports, with a force Camoras couldn't fully show. Mara did what she had always done before critical decisions. She simplified the problem. "The bridge won't fail from weight," she said. "It'll fail from torsion. When the current hits the third beam, the bus will rotate." "How long?" someone asked. Mara studied the data. "Less than you were told." A rescue boat attempted entry from the west side. Mara saw it instantly. "Pull back," she ordered. "Don't enter from there." "Negative," came the reply. "We have visual, you don't have a return path," Mara corrected. "That current will flip you." The boat advanced anyway. Seconds later, a lateral surge destabilized it. The crew barely recovered. Mara didn't raise her voice. "Listen," she said. "This isn't strength. It's geometry. Enter wrong, and you are victims." Someone muttered in the background, "Who authorized her to command?" The coordinator answered without looking up. "No one. But so far, she's the only one who's right." The radio crackled again. "This is the bus." Rachel's voice came through. "Water is coming in from the rear. The kids are scared." Mara closed her eyes for a brief second, not to escape, to focus. "Rachel, listen carefully," she said. "Your voice matters right now." "Mara," Rachel's voice trembled. "Is that you?" "Yes, I'm here, and I won't lie to you." Rachel inhaled sharply. "Tell me what to do." Mara spoke the way she always had in the dark. "Seat them in the center of the bus. Smallest in front, older kids in the back. Tell them this is a balance game." "Balance?" "Yes. If the bus moves, everyone moves together, like one body." Rachel repeated the instructions. Children's voices code. Confused but trying. Inside the options room, Nu Huan spoke. Not out of respect, out of fear of breaking something fragile. A young rescuer raised his hand. "I have a line to the central beam," he said, "but I can't see the exact anchor point." Mara remembered another young soldier, another bad angle, another night. She didn't let the memory control her. "Listen to me," she said. "Don't trust your eyes. Trust my voice." "Copy," he replied, barely steady. 2 steps forward, 10 degrees left. "Stop." The room held its breath. "Extend your arm." "Feel the vibration." "Do you feel it?" "Yes. Strong. That's secondary current. Don't anchor there." Mara adjusted 1 step back. "Half a meter right. There. Silence." "I've got it," he said. "Salad point." "Anchor," Mara ordered. "Lock." "Confirm." Confirmed. On screen, the line tightened. The first access was ready. Inside the bus, time moved differently. The sound of water never stopped. A low, constant roar pressing against metal. Children asked impossible questions. "Are we going to die? Does my mom know where I am? Why is the bridge moving?" Rachel answered with what she had. "We're together. That's what matters." Her hands shook, but her voice didn't. When she heard Mara's voice clearly through the radio, something broke inside her. Not fear, isolation. Rachel didn't think, "My sister is a hero." She thought, "I'm not alone." She looked at the children. "Listen to me," she said. "We're going to do exactly what my sister says." They trusted her. Because she didn't sound afraid, Rachel, Mara said, "They're going to start extracting the children, one at a time. No running. No shouting. Just my rhythm." "Understood." The first child crossed the line. Small, soaked, alive. A quiet exhale swept the room. The second came out crying. The third clutching a backpack. Each child removed was a silent victory, but the water kept rising. Ghostlight, a dispatcher warned. Level is increasing faster. I know, Mara said. The bus groaned. Rachel, Mara said, I need you ready to move. I'm ready. When I say now, don't hesitate. I won't, Rachel replied. I promise. The sound changed. Not a crash, a metallic strain. It's moving. Someone shouted. Everyone back, Mara ordered. Now. The bus rotated slightly. Children screamed. Rachel raised her voice to cover theirs. Together, just like we said. The young rescuer hesitated. Ghostlight. The line. Don't look at the line. Mara interrupted. Look at me. I'll get you through this. The structure gave way. Not fully. Enough. Now. Mara shouted. Now. Rachel jumped just as the bus shifted. Metal twisted. Water claimed it. But no one was inside anymore. Several seconds. No one spoke. Then a voice. All accounted for. Another. 17 children. 1 adult. No fatalities. Mara rested her hand on the table. She didn't smile. She didn't celebrate. She closed her eyes. For the first time in years, the image that haunted her loosened its grip. Not gone, but no longer in control. The response came days later. A formal request. Procedural review. Interview required. Not a thank you. An evaluation rules. The questions were precise. You were not authorized to direct operations. I didn't direct, Mara replied. I informed. You issued commands. I provided clarity. You have a prior operational incident. Mara nodded. Yes, and I live with it every day. Silence. Protocols exist for a reason, so do exceptions, Mara answered. Reality doesn't read manuals. No sanction followed, no medal either. Just a quiet acknowledgement. Mara returned to work. Same vest, same badge. But something had shifted. She began helping train others. Volunteers, coordinators, young officers. She didn't talk about heroism. She talked about preparation. The uniform doesn't make you better, she said. It makes you responsible, even when no one's watching. When asked her call sign, she hesitated. Ghostlight, she finally said. Because light isn't loud. But everyone notices when it's gone. The story didn't explode overnight. It spread the way real stories do in America, through local stations first. Then state networks. Then a quiet segment on national television that ran just long enough to matter. School bus rescue during historic storm. Improvised coordination saves 17 children. Mara's name wasn't in the headline. And she didn't look for it. What mattered was what happened afterward. Fire stations replayed the footage during shift changes. Emergency coordinators paused meetings to ask uncomfortable questions. County officials reviewed bridge maps they hadn't looked at in years. Parents hugged their children a little tighter that night. And across the country, people who would never meet Mara, Holloway felt something simple and powerful. Relief. Patriotism doesn't always wear a uniform. Sometimes it wears a reflective vest. Sometimes it sounds like a calm voice on a failing radio. Sometimes it looks like showing up when no one is obligated to. Mara returned to her routine. Same building, same table, same quiet responsibility. But she noticed something different. People lingered a moment longer, asked questions they never asked before. Were you really there that night? Mara answered honestly. I was close enough. She didn't correct them. She didn't embellish. She understood something the army had taught her long ago. The mission is bigger than the person. The days after the rescue were not heroic. They were quiet. Mara didn't sleep well for weeks. Not from fear, from Hilisi. A body that stays alert too long forgets how to power down. She woke before sunrise, checked windows out of habit, listened for radios that weren't on. Then, one afternoon, she helped train a small volunteer team in a rural county. No cameras, no speeches, just practice. She corrected angles, asked questions, listened. When it ended, an older woman approached her. "Thank you for not making us feel stupid." Mara paused. She realized something important. Redemption doesn't always come from saving lives. Sometimes it comes from passing knowledge forward without pride. America is not perfect. It never has been. But it is built on a stubborn idea that individual responsibility can still change collective outcomes. Mara Holloway is a product of that idea. Not because the system protected her every time, but because when it failed, she didn't turn into bitterness. She stayed. She served. She adjusted. That, too, is patriotism, not the kind that shouts, the kind that remains. Weeks later, Mara received an email, not ceremonial, not public. An invitation to sit in on a working group, Army engineers, civil coordinators, emergency planners, not as a hero, as a reference. In the room, someone asked, "Why did you keep helping after what happened to you?" Mara didn't answer right away. She thought of Evan, of the mission that failed, of the weight she carried for years. Then she sighed because quitting would be been easier, at Chuzi. No one applauded, but everyone listened. Rachel returned to driving her route, but she drove differently now. She checked drainage paths, taught children what to do if something went wrong, spoke to other drivers between shifts. One evening, sitting with Mara on the porch, Rachel asked, "Were you scared that night?" Mara looked at the sky. "Yes." "Then why did you sound so calm?" Mara smiled softly. "Because fear isn't an order." Rachel nodded. "I'm glad you came back." Mara met her eyes. "I never really left." America isn't held together by headlines. It's held together by people who don't wait to be seen. Contractors, drivers, volunteers, veterans who still serve without rank. Mara Holloway is one of them. No statue, no commemorative day. Just impact, adjusted protocols, better preparation, lives not lost. That is service. One night, months later, another storm passed through. Not historic, not deadly. Mara listened to the wind from her apartment window. By instinct, she reached for her old radio. Static. She smiled. Not because she missed the chaos, but because she knew something had changed. If it happened again, someone would be better prepared, and that meant her work mattered. Redemption isn't being forgiven. Redemption is refusing to abandon what you swore to protect, even when it costs you. It's showing up without applause, choosing responsibility over comfort, light over silence. Mara Holloway didn't save the country. She saved people. And in the end, that's the same thing. If this story reminded you that America is held together by invisible people who step forward when everything fails, subscribe to Redemption of America. Here we tell stories of men and women who served, fell, and chose to rise without asking permission. Before you go, tell us in the comments, what state are you watching from? And one more question, do you believe redemption comes from the system or from personal choice? Because as long as someone is willing to turn the light back on, America will always have redemption.